Before, in this gospel passage where we hear not just one but two miracle accounts, with one of them kind of sandwiched in the second one kind of sandwiched in the middle of the first, the way this particular gospel book is set out, the account of the one woman with the flow of blood begins and ends with brackets. And so it's up to the priest whether he wants to include that when he proclaims this passage or not. I have never left that part out. I think it's there. If Luke had a reason for doing that, we should hear it. And there are some interesting parallels here. We got a woman who for 12 years has had a flow of blood, and a young girl who is, as Luke says, about 12 years of age. And if you think about what their respective roles in society would have been based on Jewish law, with a flow of blood that didn't cease, the woman would have been left ritually impure. And so she could not interact with anyone, or she would make them ritually impure too. She couldn't go into anyone else's house. She couldn't go into a shop. She couldn't have a conversation. She was alone. She'd been abandoned almost here for 12 years. For her, 12 years was a long time. Imagine. And then we have a young girl who's about 12. And at 12, as we may or may not know, young Jewish faithful become accountable to the law. And so they have to start following all those 600 and something prescriptions of the law if they want to be faithful Jews. And so, in a certain sense, she's on the cusp of adulthood. She's on the cusp of being treated as an adult. For this young girl and for her father, Jairus, I suspect 12 years was too short. He didn't want to lose her. Certainly, I suspect she didn't want to die. 12 years was too little. For one, 12 years is too much. For the other, 12 years is too little. The other thing that connects these two passages here is that in each case, the protagonist has a plan. We've so often heard either gospel passages or gospel parables where the person has a plan. And in one way, shape, or form, the plan doesn't go the way the plan is supposed to have gone. And that's what happens here, too. But in a different way. And again, that's something that unites these two gospel passages, these two miracle accounts. The woman with the flow of blood basically is trying to be as unobtrusive as she possibly can. She has convinced herself she's not going to bother Jesus, she's not going to talk to him, because again, she can't, for fear of rendering him ritually impure. But she's convinced herself that all she has to do is touch the hem of his cloak. She can approach his feet. She doesn't even have to look him in the face. And if all she does is touch the hem of her cloak, she'll be healed. She's right. Right? The flow of blood immediately ceased, Luke says. But what goes on here is, for Jesus, that's not enough. Jesus isn't Santa Claus with miracles here. He doesn't want to just pass these things out like candy on Halloween. If I can mix Halloween and Christmas. He doesn't want her at his feet. He wants to look at her face to face. He wants a relationship with her. He's inviting her into that relationship. And if you took note, once he convinces Peter, someone touched me. And Peter's like, what do you mean? The place is packed. Of course someone touched you. People are bumping into you left and right. No, Peter, you don't understand. Somebody touched me. And power has gone out of me. Which tells us, A, the woman had great faith, because the only time Jesus works miracles is when there's faith. But by the end of her portion of this gospel passage, she's no longer just a woman who had a flow of blood. She's daughter. Go in peace. Right? He's re-establishing that relationship. He's inviting her in. He wants, and that's what he wants from us. He doesn't just want us when we need something. Christ wants a relationship with us. He wants to invite us into his heart. He wants to invite us to follow him. In fact, he does invite us to follow him. He wants us to actively follow him. And the same thing is going on with Jairus. It's a little better. If I can just get him to my house, my daughter won't die. Well, he's too late. His plan doesn't go according to his plan either, right? But Jesus says, no, it's okay. Let's just go. And Jesus goes. And we've heard that gospel passage here. And how does this story of someone's daughter end? It ends with a meal. And what can be, there are very few things more intimate than sharing a meal with someone, right? He's been invited into their home. Now they're sharing food. This is a deepening of the relationship. This is an invitation to conversation. This is an invitation to, again, enter deeper into the heart of Christ. There's nothing wrong with either of these folks' plans. And in fact, ultimately, they get what they came for. But they don't get it in the way they thought they would. Because it's not just about a miracle. It's about that relationship. I heard a cute little, I guess it's not a meme if there's no picture attached, but a cute little saying. Too many of us treat prayer like it's a spare tire. We take it out of the trunk when something has gone disastrously wrong and we need help. Right? Prayer isn't the spare tire. Prayer is the steering wheel. Prayer is the steering wheel. It's meant to be there all the time. It's meant to be used every time we set out. It directs our path. It guides us. It keeps us straight. Right? That's what prayer is for. To give us strength. To keep us straight. To lead us ever more deeply into Christ's heart. To enter us ever more deeply into that relationship. That's ultimately what Christ wants. He just doesn't want to be there when there's an emergency. He wants to be there for us and with us every day. Right? Those of you who know when we chat, if something's wrong, invariably I will ask, how's the prayer life going? And the answers vary. That's okay. It's so-so. Well, and I know what well means. I can interpret well. Because prayer, again, isn't just something we pull out off the shelf when there's a need. Prayer is air. Prayer is food. Prayer is water. Take any of those other three things away, and what happens? Bad stuff. Whether it comes quickly or maybe a little less quick, bad stuff happens. If we're not praying, that bad stuff happens too. We forget. We're very good, human beings are very good at being able to forget basic truths. And the basic truth that we tend to forget is that we are sons and daughters of God. We're called to something more than this. There's nothing wrong with this life. There's just something more. Right? We're invited into that something more. And if we forget about that something more and get lost in this, we're missing the point. Right? We're invited. We're invited to be lifted up like that poor woman with the flow of blood out of the dust of the earth. To look one another and Christ our God in the face. And to have that relationship with him. To hear him call us daughter or son. We are called into that relationship every day. And hopefully ever more deeply every day. We've got a lifetime. 60, 70. I hope it's more than, at 59, I hope it's more than 6. 60 years, 70 years, 80 years. We're living longer and longer every day. 90 years. 100 years is not unheard of anymore. And who knows what's coming 20 years down the road. But that, all of that, any of that, no matter how long or how short, pales into insignificance in the face of eternity. An eternity either with God or not. That's the choice we're working on here. That's the decision we're setting ourselves up for every day. Which will we choose? Eternity with God or not? To Jesus Christ be glory, now and ever, in the ages of ages. Amen.